Hey everyone, and welcome to Reviews with Ryan. Today on the channel, I'm going to be talking about a drama, thriller, horror film called Baby Ruby. This film is now available to rent on VOD and to check out. What were my thoughts on Baby Ruby? Well, stick around and let's talk about it. Baby Ruby is the tightly scripted world of a vlogger and influencer unraveling after she becomes a mother. The film stars Noémie Merlant, Kit Harington, Meredith Hagner, Reed Birney, Jane Atkinson, and Lauren Beveridge, and was directed by Bess Wohl, and this is her directorial debut. So with February not really being a big month for me to go out to the theater, as there just really isn't that much playing that really interests me this month, I decided to check out some movies on streaming, and Baby Ruby being one of them. What really drew me into this movie, it seemed like it would be kind of a horror-ish kind of movie, so I wanted to check it out and see what this film had to offer, and the fact that it is a director's debut, I'm always very interested to check out a new film from a new director, so I went ahead and checked out this film. What can I really say positive about this film? Well, I think that the messaging in this film, it does a pretty good job of laying down the foundation of the messaging. So you have this couple, you have Joe and Spencer. They're not the best couple. They really don't have the best relationship, I would say, but we find Joe, she being this influencer and vlogger and writing a bunch of blogs online and her getting that popularity, she has that kind of claim to fame, while her husband Spencer is a butcher and he's always at work. And in this movie, she is pregnant, and when she actually has the baby, well, she starts having some hallucinations, she starts having some weird kind of dreams, weird kind of visions, what makes it a actual horror movie. And her husband, he is always off working, so he's not really always there to see what is going on with the baby. She has some issues here. She has some postpartum, which is really highly reflected in this film. And she also has some problems breastfeeding the baby. Like when she tries to breastfeed the baby bites her breast and she gets really ticked about it. And she starts really going off the deep end. She starts thinking that the baby hates her. The baby is probably crying probably 60 to 70% of the movie. I did like that idea that the baby really had trouble really adjusting and, always crying and such, but I really think they could have cut that out a little bit, because it does get a little bit annoying and repetitive, but it really does drive that point home that the baby is very upset when she is in the mother's care. Towards the beginning of the movie, she is shopping for baby clothes and she runs into this particular woman, and the woman takes very much fascination with her, and she asks her a couple questions about her baby, because she has her baby strapped into the seat and it has like this covering so she can't see the baby, but apparently her baby is at rest and never really restless or anything like that. You don't hear that baby crying. But when she tries to see the baby, the woman takes a big offense to it. And later down the line, she meets up with this woman again, and they are part of this club, kind of like a baby club, where you have all these moms that get together and they do activities. And they also find out that she is this famous vlogger that they also follow. So they really take her in and under their wing. But at the same time, it kind of gets me wondering if they were kind of a cult, but at the same time, they don't really have a lot of revealing towards these particular women, other than the fact that when they're doing all these different activities, their babies are covered by these sheets, and these babies are never crying, they never make any sounds. So it really gets under Joe's head that the fact that these babies are very quiet and her baby is always just screaming and crying and always being really restless. So I think it really attacks her inside her soul of being a bad mother. And her really believing that she is a bad mother, it gets worse and worse as time goes on. And again, this is where the horror aspects really get into this film. Weird dreams, weird visions. You've seen this kind of thing before with different kinds of things. For instance, there is one point where she's really mad at her husband, and she gets mad that the husband calms down the baby, and she gets really jealous that the husband, being as he is never home, just ends up calming the baby, and it really makes her think that the baby really hates her at that point, but the husband can just never really be around and calm the baby down himself. So she ends up going out to a party and apparently getting drunk and hooking up with one of the women that she had met during this mother retreat when they discovered that she was a famous blogger. But apparently that doesn't happen, or does it? And then there's a lot of other weird things that happen in the film where you don't know if certain things are happening. There are also things in the film where there is some close calls where you think something really bad just happened, and then you're like, oh, okay, it didn't really happen, but it's implied that it seems like it did happen. So you have some weird things and weird imagery like that in the film. I also found it kind of interesting from a father perspective when Jo goes to the doctor and she's presenting different things that her child has done and what she is doing and how she is growing teeth at such an early age. The doctor just kind of shuns it off. I've been in that situation where I've been at a doctor and I'm trying to figure out what my son's milestones should be when he was much younger. And I never felt like the doctor really understood where I was trying to go with my comments and didn't feel like I was really respected as how the milestones of my son should be, and just kind of shrugging off certain things. I think when you are a first-time parent and you're trying to really grasp about certain things that are happening with your baby and what you should be looking out for, and if you have those signs where you feel like you have some concerns and you think that something isn't right, you should have that doctor there to support you and walk you way through the steps. And I felt like in this movie, the doctor, he was a male in this, wasn't really walking her through the steps. So I definitely had the feels in that moment of what she was going through. I would say that it's really hard to recommend this movie, mainly because I don't think that this movie will be for everyone. I think that if you haven't gone through any type of childbirth or have never had a child yourself, it may be a little bit hard to get into this movie. And I would say that if you have been a mother and you've gone through this postpartum depression, you may really relate to this movie, especially guys as well. But I think this may be geared more towards women because it is a big character study on a woman that just had a baby. But at the same time, it's really hard to recommend this to everyone. I would give a score of it a 2.5 out of 5. It's an okay movie, and I think that it really does tackle some important topics. And I think for a directorial debut, this is a really good start for someone for their first movie. I think, though, hammering home the actual wrap-up of this movie, it just doesn't really work for me. By the time it really ends, I just kind of felt kind of meh afterwards. I didn't really feel like it really did hammer home all the topics that it was presenting. It didn't feel like certain things were resolved, and I just felt kind of like helpless by the time this movie actually ended. Have you seen Baby Ruby? And if you have not seen it, is it something that you would check out? If you have seen it, let me know in the comments what you guys thought about this film. Did you like it? Did you hate it? Was it just kind of meh? Thank you guys for watching this review as always, and I will see you guys on my next review.